because this particular crop circle was described by one scientist as the most important crop circle of our generation. So this image shows accurate representation of COVID-19. Notice the 9 spike proteins shown here in purple and the 3 smaller envelope proteins shown here in blue. Now let's look at the COVID crop circle. 9 proteins, but 1 is misshapen. But there are 3 clearly defined envelope proteins. Clearly, if this is a fake, then it's been faked by people who know an awful lot about science. But the accuracy doesn't stop there. On the very inside of every living cell, there are 3 types of RNA. And the 3 types of RNA work together to create larger kind of blobs. Sorry, that's the extent of my science knowledge. Once again, the COVID crop circle doesn't disappoint. Shown here inside the blue ring, 3 RNA and 3 larger blobs. Now, whichever side of the crop circle fence you sit, I'm sure you'll agree that's an astounding amount of accurate science. And leaves one very obvious question. Why the mistake? Why the blob? Sadly, my science knowledge is exhausted. Thankfully, Circle Hunters had Professor Jerry Croth on hand to look into the subject a little deeper.
But what you're looking at is a timeline. On the bottom you see brown, COVID-19. These are all the diseases, the leading causes of death on planet Earth as we speak. And you see by March 6th, COVID is racing up to the top. It is the 3rd, then it is the 2nd largest killer. And by the beginning of May, it becomes almost the largest killer. And here we have the crop circle appears now, okay, as COVID-19 has become the leading source of death on our planet. So my question though was, wait a minute, if these crop circle makers are making a COVID-19, why did they get it wrong? There's no blob at the bottom of the coronavirus from the scientific model. What's that blob doing there? That's incorrect. So maybe that is an elongation and a magnification so that you can look inside the spike protein. That's the only spike protein in this crop circle where you can see inside. So you can see inside 8 little things. Started reading literature, spike protein 8, spike protein with 8, something with 8. And actually I found in the literature SP8, spike protein 8. And I said, oh my God, I've got a discovery here. We propose that SP8 epitope should help in the characterization of mechanisms of virus control and immunopathology. That means SP8 is good. It has something to do with immunizing us. Okay, in other words, SP8 has something to do with antibodies and immunity. SP8 induces things called CTLs, and a CTL is a type of cell that can kill cells infected with a virus. So the secret inside that spike protein, SP8, is a secret to immunizing ourselves. Okay.
So good old Jerry, with his investigative mind, took it upon himself to write this little letter to 2 established professors. He asked me to keep their names hidden, but trust me when I say they're very well known. And blow me down, he got a reply from them both. This is what Professor 1 said in response.
It's not every day I receive an inquiry from a retired psychology professor working on COVID about a viral immunity question. But here's what I know. The COVID sequence available here indicates that SP8 epitope from SARS, to which you referred, blah, 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 is indeed present in full in COVID spike, in COVID. So, dumb question, but I don't know what the 8 stands for. So I thought, okay, I'm going to take another chance and ask a dumb question. What's the 8 stand for in SP8? Well, one professor writes back and says, probably amino acids. Look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 2 sets of 4. The other professor said, I think SP8 probably refers to a peptide. We have different answers. Well, amino acids make peptides, which make proteins. So you may be looking at 8 amino acids, or you may be looking at 1 peptide inside that spike protein. Yes, SP8 has been discovered in COVID, but we don't know if it has the same function as it has in SARS. In SARS, it had an immunological function, but they don't know that yet. On May 29th, this crop circle appears showing us SP8, but we don't know yet if it has an immunological property that could save us. Interesting. So let's take this very slowly. We are back to our initial discovery about this crop circle. The crop circle seems to be showing us a magnified version of SP8, which may teach us how to protect ourselves from the virus. Here's what it is saying in English, okay? Quote, you are currently suffering from a planetary-wide viral pandemic. In order to make progress against this illness, concentrate your efforts on non-structural proteins and their associated RNA mechanics which replicate the virus. You should also study the distribution of amino acids and peptides in spike proteins to help successfully immunize your species from the widespread mortality which will otherwise follow. Thank you, E.T.
Now, I don't know about you, but I want this social distancing thing to be over as soon as possible. So let's just hope the powers that be are listening to Jerry's research.